again, and welcome to another Backyard Farmer. I'm Kim Todd, and we're happy to have you join us for an hour of answering your gardening questions. If you need some help with a garden problem, just give us a call at 1-800-676-5446. If you'd rather send us a picture or two for a future show, that address is byf@unl.edu. Please let us know where you live. Give us as much information as you can so we can give you the best answer. Do be sure to check out Backyard Farmer on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. So with that out of the way, let's answer these questions. Jody, you're up first. As always, the bug chair is first. So this viewer has a beautiful red oak, 12 years old, had 3 borer holes in the trunk, one 12 inches from the ground, one 34, one 39. She put a dime there for scale, which is great. They're an inch deep and they're hollow. She says liquid is coming out and also some fine material. What does she do to kill the borers if that's what you think this is?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a red oak borer, which is a type of longhorn beetle. I would probably recommend having an arborist come out and take a look and see if it's worth saving, to see if there's any like systemic or drenches that she would want to do there. But I think overall too, the health of the tree, so it doesn't look like there was any mulch around the bottom of the tree, and I don't know how the watering schedule is, but those things have to be taken in consideration to see if that can be saved and if it's worth the money and the time.
Well, and I think it's very bad that we now have borers attacking our oaks, for heaven's sakes. All right, Jody, you have 2 pictures on the next one. This one says, okay, first round of aphids and then another round of aphids, and now these bugs on his pepper plants, and he's from Papillion.
Okay, so yeah, we're overrun with aphids this year, but this is actually the pupa of a lady beetle. So this is one of the predators. These are the good guys. The reason why it's got those little prickly things is because the larvae have these spines, and so they have to shed their last exoskeleton and form a pupa, so that's what it looks like. In a couple weeks, days, it'll become a lady beetle.
And they're cool, those little prickly
yeah,
things.
they're pretty
look like
neat.
extra legs or something.
Yeah. And they're predators. They'll take care of those aphids.
Perfect. And you have one more picture. This one comes to us from Ogallala. He sent a number of pictures that were very good. He's saying round green growths on the young oak. He doesn't know which oak because a squirrel brought it. It's 3 or 4 years old. They look like little acorns, but of course they're not. And the ants and the wasps love them. What is it?
Yeah, so it's interesting because it's Ogallala and those are gulls. So those are oak gulls and they do exude honeydew, which the wasps and ants like to feed on. So they'll kind of hang out there and feed on those. They're not supposed to be damaging to the tree, but they do look bad. Sometimes you can prune some of them out, but it shouldn't be a problem to it won't kill the tree.
All right, excellent. Terry, you have your first set of questions is Vine Central, I think. Your first one here, he's asking about this vine. This is he's called Lakeland in Blair. And he's saying, what is this woody vine and how does he get rid of it? He says it's hard to kill.
Yeah, this is bittersweet. Bittersweet is noxious in some states, but not here. You can pull it, but you'll most likely have to either get your soil knife or an actual shovel and kind of dig it out. You can cut it and then go and paint it with some glyphosate or something right after you cut it if you wanted to do that. So those would be 2 ways to kind of control that. But I would get rid of it because it can get kind of aggressive.
Yeah, and we do have some that has taken root in our backyard farmer garden from another location. All right, your second one is a single picture. This is a Lincoln viewer. She says this clematis always seems to be invaded by what she thought was bindweed, and then she did come back and say it's not bindweed because it doesn't have bindweed flowers. She has not figured out how to tell which is which unless she crawls under there and sees who's attached where to the ground. So she wants to know how you determine the difference between the clematis and what we figured out was honeyvine milkweed.
Yep. So I went scouring around the backyard farmer garden, and I did know where some nice clematis was. So this looks okay. So clematis is going to kind of have this this long piece that's attached to the vine, and then it's going to have these two flower or leaves that are right next to each other. And then you have this one. So this is the honeyvine milkweed, and they're going to be right next to each other, right across on the stem like this, but they're going to be a single leaf, and they're going to be much more like a heart. So they're going to look much like, there we go. It's going to look much more like a heart, where these are going to be much more oval. So that's kind of how you're going to look at them. And the clematis is going to have more of like a woody looking like stem than the honeyvine milkweed does.
And the leaves are thicker.
Yeah, leaves are thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one looked a little sad because somebody already picked it and it was laying on the grass. That's where I had to find
That's
it.
okay. Good spot for it. Yeah. All right. One more picture, Terry. This one comes to us from Grand Island. She said this is growing along the side of her garage. It looks like a muscadine or a scuppernong grape. She wonders, is it, and whether the fruit is edible.
This is Boston ivy, so it is very pretty. You're gonna go back east and see it, like on all of the colleges' walls, and if you go to a Cubs game, you're gonna see it. But no, the fruit is not edible to humans, but it is edible to birds. So most likely birds will come and strip it as soon as they're ready. And that's usually how other people get it, so.
Exactly. All right. Dennis, you have one picture on the first one. And this viewer says, what would bite the beans like this? And she says, rabbits, squirrels, voles?
Voles or a mouse. It could also be an insect. It's so small and the bite marks are so small. So I would go with a mouse, vole, or insect with this type. And you see a little bit of injury, not the actual bite. And that could be signs that it was an insect too.
So one or the other, somebody got
Right.
the beans.
But it's not rabbits or anything bigger or squirrels.
All right. Your next one is also one picture. This is a Wahoo, Nebraska viewer. He says, what in the world is eating a trough across the face of his cabbage?
That's probably a woodchuck more than anything else. You could also be a raccoon, but a woodchuck would love to eat that. And if it was done at night, it could be a raccoon, but done during the day, but not a rabbit. Rabbit wouldn't eat it that way. So it's either a woodchuck or a raccoon.
But apparently does not like it as sauerkraut because they're just eating it raw, right?
Right.
All
Yeah,
right.
They don't like vinegar.
One more for you, Dennis. This comes to us from Underwood, Iowa. And he just wanted to share this picture of a cool brown snake.
Yeah.
He said fairly large, 3/8 of an inch thick. He had to move it so his wife could mow. And he does say he forgot how badly they smell when they're irritated.
Yeah, all snakes have an odor to ward off predators. And so, some smell really good. I love copperhead smell. I use that as cologne. But this is Decay's brown snake, and they are live birth. They're small and they eat slugs and land snails. So they're very beneficial and cause no harm.
Excellent. All right, Scott, you have 3 pictures on this first one. This is, she started on this quest in about the middle of July, and they were red peppers that were green. They seemed large enough. Extension said wait, and then picture 2 is when she finally picked them, and then it's sliced them, and then what in the world? She says it looks like they're sprouting internally. They're just odd and gross, and obviously, and she did say, are they still safe to eat?
What we have going on is I can't know if I'm saying it right, but viviparity. This happens in some of our fruits, like tomatoes and peppers, where the seed can actually break dormancy, and then we start getting odd growths within the fruit. It is still edible, but if ever in doubt, just go ahead and throw it out. We've been seeing a lot of odd things happening with our fruits because we had some really intense heat. Peppers can also get squished in a cage, and we can start getting some of those odd growths, or it could be just a little bit off. So take a look at how your growing conditions, but They are edible, but if in doubt, go ahead and throw it out.
That does not look very appetizing.
No.
All right, Scott, you have one picture on this next one. This is a Hardington viewer. She's saying, why are her Celebrity Plus tomatoes not developing into a normal round shape? They're 2 inches long with a pointed end.
There is a chance that maybe at the garden center the tags got messed up. I come from the garden center. Unfortunately, it does happen often. They're still edible. They just might not be the cultivar that you're looking for, but there's nothing wrong with them.
All right, and 2 pictures on this one, Scott. This comes to us from Red Cloud. She said these ewes were trimmed about 2 weeks ago, so end of July. 1 out of the 4 has turned very brown across the top. The other 3 have some browning, but nothing like this. Any idea why?
I took a look at the forecast a couple of weeks ago, and it looks like you were up into the upper 90s, maybe even brushing up against that 100-degree mark. With those open wounds, we could be getting some burn. We could be getting some reflection from the siding. There's just a lot of environmental conditions going on right now. The plant should be okay. They're a pretty hardy plant, so just leave it alone. Don't fertilize, but wait till earlier in the summer to do any of your type of pruning.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, if you've got some plants you'd like to save for next season, there's a relatively simple way to do it for some of them. For our first feature tonight, Stacy Adams is going to demonstrate the proper way to propagate some plants with cuttings.
Plant propagation is something that any gardener could do for themselves, and there's a lot of reasons why we want to propagate plants. Maybe we have some plants we want to keep and hold over winter, or maybe we have some plants that we need to fill in a particular corner in our garden. So many plants can be successfully propagated at home using just some very simple tools. Keep in mind that the softer the material, so a herbaceous cutting such as coleus or adrenium, are very easy to propagate, whereas when you get into more woody types of materials it might be a bit more difficult, but it is something to explore. One comment regarding these cuttings, though, is many of the items that we buy at the garden center are patented, so we want to make sure that if we're propagating things, it's for our own purposes and not for distribution. Now, we need a variety of items in order to be successful. Very simple to do. We can use some like a container in order to put some potting mix in, and the container size needs to be appropriate to what the cutting is going to be. So if it's a very small cutting, we can get by with a small container, but if it's going to be a larger woody shrub maybe that we're going to propagate, we need a larger pot. Now, I like to use potting soil that we get at the garden center because it's usually pre-pasteurized and ready to go, and we can just add water to it in order to get it ready. But some cuttings might do better with a better draining item, so perlite or a combination of perlite and vermiculite would work well. Now, keep in mind when we take a cutting, we've removed the roots, so we have this vegetation. In order, we need to keep the plant alive, so we've got to have a container that's closed. So I like to use these plastic shoe boxes or blanket chests, or they have propagators available at the garden center that you can use. And a simple way we can do that is also to use like a bag, like a 1 gallon Ziploc baggie. Now, to do cuttings, we want to take a tip cutting, so that's the very top of the plant, and we need to get in the area where we have what's called a node. That node is an area where cells can reproduce quite rapidly, and we'll get the roots in there. Now, when we take the cutting, we want the least amount of vegetation, but we need to make sure that the material is strong enough or has fully developed where it can go on and root. So we'll use some rooting hormone, which will help speed the whole process. Take the cutting, dip it in the hormone, and direct stick it right into our propagation media. And then we need to make sure and close it up into our airtight container. Now, this will take about 3 to 7 days before we start seeing root initials. Some things might take longer, some might be shorter. When we see the roots are developing, then we want to start opening the container a bit, and that way the roots can go on and fill out the pot, and the water will start moving through the plant itself. Plant propagation is something that we can do very easily at home. We could do it in our kitchen, we can put it in our sun porch or whatever. Just keep in mind that we want to do lowered light conditions until the plant starts getting the roots developed. And then we need to transition it slowly from the really protected environment till it is fully rooted and developed. The whole process is less than about 4 weeks.
Using this method is really a great way to save some of your favorite plants for seasons to come. Do remember that some of them are patented and you can use them only yourself. You don't get to put them on your garden center sale on your garage. All right, Jody, you have 3 pictures on this one. This is Wayne County, Nebraska. She's been fighting this in her potatoes and tomatoes, curls the ends, won't produce fruit. She rotates her garden, waters with soaker hoses. It's spread to some perennials. The local greenhouse thought it might be thrips, used the above insecticide for 3 years. It did improve the potatoes, but not so much the tomatoes. She sprayed the ground. She's instructed she sprays every 3 days, but they still look like this. What is it?
Well, I'm not sure that I think that it is insect related. And after talking to Scott in our office, it looks like it could be herbicide drift.
When we start seeing that stretching, that cupping with the leaf, we often associate that with herbicide damage. Thrips don't usually leave that type of damage on our tomatoes, so we've been seeing a lot of herbicide throughout the state, so it looks like regulator.
And if it's happening throughout a lot of the plants out there, then that is probably a pretty good indication.
And she probably should take that to the extension office and have somebody take a real look at it. All right. One picture on the next one, Jody. This is this is Omaha. He returned from vacation to find this outbreak on one of his tomato plants. And he said a different plant in a different raised bed is not affected. What is it? How should he treat them? And is there any hope?
Okay, so this one may have hope. So these are aphids, and it's been like the nastiest aphid year. You do go on vacation and you stop rinsing them off or paying attention, and they will get out of hand because aphids can reproduce without mating and just very, very quickly. And every plant has their own aphid, and sometimes you'll see a lot of these white specks. That's them reproducing, and their exoskeletons, because they would just constantly molt. You may see some with wings. You'll see a lot of predators as well. So similar to that one question where we had ladybug pupa and larvae, you'll see like parasitoid wasps sometimes, or the aphid mummies. You'll also see syrphid flies, lacewing larvae. So there's a lot of predators out there, but that plant does look like it's in good enough shape that it can be treated. You can use like neem oil, you can use insecticidal soap, or something, you know, like pretty, like not harmful to those beneficials that are helping you out.
All right. Jody, you have 3 pictures from 3 different viewers for your next set, and we're going to sort of bundle them. The first one comes to us from Bellevue. He knows they're not squash bug eggs. They're on the pumpkins. What is it?
Yeah, these are aphids. So those little white specks, those are the exoskeletons of aphids, and they have been terrible, and they have been on squash, and they have been on pumpkin and cucumber, places that we haven't seen them before. So it's just a really bad year, and they are like just numerous.
Your next one is also Omaha, and what has taken over the cucumbers? Small black things and white sacks.
Yep, those are aphids, and and they can come in all different colors. Sometimes you will see like the parasitoid wasps. You'll see the mummies. They're like little blown up circles, and that's the ones that have been parasitized. But there are just so many of them, you can't, you know, it's not necessarily a good idea to use anything on this. You might need to pick those leaves off and maybe try to get some airflow under some of the squash or things that have vines. Put them up on stakes or stuff to get some of that debris away, because that's just breeding more aphids.
And one more. This is Firth.
Can you guess what it is? Aphids.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same answer, same thing. Good grief, what a year.
Yeah.
All right, Terry, whew, let's do something different.
Okay.
You have 2 pictures on the first one. This comes to us from Donovan, and he wants to know how to rid the lake of duckweed.
Well, there's a few ways that you can do this. The first way, which would probably be the simplest way for you, would be to get some aeration within your pond. If it's pretty slow moving or pretty stagnant or doesn't move at all, then you're gonna have more duckweed. So if you can go get, like, even those solar air things that shoot water up in the air, you can get one of those and just get that water moving, and that will help get rid of it. You can rake it off. When you're gonna pull it off though, you need to pull it off as far as you possibly can so it can't blow back in. There's some chemicals that you could use, but I probably wouldn't go that way with the critters and stuff that could possibly be in there. I wouldn't want you to do that. One of the other ways is to make sure that you don't let wildlife come on there, because they move it from pond to pond, but I'm not for sure how you're gonna stop them from doing that. It's not like you can put a net over the whole thing. So,
All right.
so those would be, put some water movement in there. That's gonna be the easiest thing to do.
All right, 1 picture on the next one. This viewer is in Lincoln, has sandburrs. How do you get rid of them? She fights them annually.
So sandburrs you're gonna treat like you do with crabgrass. So you're gonna put like a pre-emergent down in the spring with crabgrass. You probably wanna do like a split. So you put the crabgrass preventer down like early May, and then I would do like a second application 4 to 6 weeks later for that sandburr. You can do a post. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the pre-emergent is probably going to be your best bet.
All right, and 1 more picture. This comes to us from Cozad. They're saying these small cacti appeared within the last season along the edges of a gravel parking lot. They're native species up the hill, but how can these be permanently eliminated?
So if you want to permanently eliminate them, the best way to do is to go get your shovel and some very thick gloves, and you're gonna dig down below the soil line 2 to 4 inches, and then remove them, put them in like a paper bag and get rid of them, because any little piece will actually root and stay there. So that's really gonna be the best way to do it. There is a chemical treatment, but sometimes that chemical treatment can take 2 to 3 years for the plant to actually die.
All right, thanks, Terry. Dennis, 2 pictures on this one. She grew about 20 butternut squash last year. 10 were harvested, 10 were ravaged. This year she's building chicken wire cloches over them. Will that work? So I think the next picture shows us chicken wire.
Yeah, the chicken wire should work pretty good. You may want to have a smaller chicken wire because that could be 13-line ground squirrels, and they can almost get in between that chicken wire, but they may not. If the chicken wire is above by an inch, it will work.
All right, 2 pictures on the next one. 3 pictures. Fairberry, something is beating her to melons and tomatoes overnight. She set a live trap, but she hasn't caught anybody yet.
Yeah, so there's a number of things love these, and there's been some producers in the northeast part of the state that have a lot of melons and cantaloupe eaten by coyotes. So it could be fox, it could be coyotes, and raccoons are the #1 that go after that stuff. So I would use a trail cam to find out who's doing it. It may be your neighbor.
With claw feet, okay. 1 picture on the next one. This is Omaha. Saw this guy moving along the fence line. Wondered, is this a groundhog or a teenage badger?
This is a groundhog.
Okay.
Teenage badger.
All right.
Sounds like a movie gone bad. Teenage badger.
And 1
No,
more.
it's a groundhog.
Okay. 1 more, and weird scratch marks on the otherwise healthy honey locust. She's got some on the branches too, wondering what this is.
Well, this bottom part is squirrels, the squirrel graffiti. It's a male squirrel most likely saying, this is my territory, back off. And then they rub their chin. So you can spray that with vegetable oil mixed with a hot cayenne pepper. And just keep painting it with that, and that should stop that squirrel from doing it on that tree.
All right, excellent. Scott, 2 pictures on this. It might not be yours, but you get it anyway, because Jody's box was full. This is Holbrook, Nebraska. He's saying, why is his pear producing fruit that looks like this next one?
It would be good to know if it's just a handful of the fruit on the tree or is it all of the fruit. That would give us a little bit more information. It could be insect damage. There are different stink bugs out there that could be doing that, probing and feeding. It could also just be that your tree has produced an abundant amount of pear and not all the pears getting the water and resources that it needs to be happy and healthy.
All right, 2 pictures on the next one, Scott. This comes to us from Elm Creek. Peach tree that she purchased last year. This is happening to the trunk on the second picture. She wants to know what she can do to prevent further damage, and she lost a peach tree due to this previously.
This could be a bacterial canker. It could be physical injury from just the planting. The best thing to do is just wait and watch, but you would want to help protect that trunk. Put some hardware cloth, some really fine chicken wire to help keep the critters from feeding on it. But right now, all we could do is just wait and watch.
All right, thanks, Scott. And one more on this one. This is a Crimson Spire oak, which for our viewers, that is one that's a cross between white oak and a English, and they're supposed to be narrow. It's doing this, behaved perfectly until this year, started growing this topsy-turvy top. What causes it, and what should he be doing about it?
This almost looks like a fountain, maybe a fountain that we could be using to help with Terry's duckweed problem. This could be a possible reversion because it is a cross between the white and the English oak. We could have that reversion. If you want to do the pruning, keep in mind that this is an oak, that we want to do pruning after Halloween and during the dormancy to help prevent any type of transmission of oak wilt. But you can follow those branches back and prune them out and wait and see what happens.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, the weather has cooled down at least a bit for a while after that heat wave that we had a few weeks ago. Here's Gannon Rush from UNL's High Plains Regional Climate Center to tell us what to expect for the coming week.
Thanks, Kim. After a stretch of very pleasant temperatures for this time of year, we'll begin to return to near normal this week. The Panhandle, and specifically the Chadron area, will likely be the hottest this week, with highs reaching the upper 90s beginning on Saturday. Outside of the Panhandle, temperatures will be in the 80s, but a few places could crack into the 90s. The rainfall out west last week was beneficial and should help chip away at drought conditions. However, this week will be drier. A few scattered storms are possible as we head into the weekend, but the greatest chances are on Sunday and Monday in the Sandhills. A few places may see nearly a half an inch, while others, such as in the east, could be nearly bone dry. And that's your week of weather forecast. Back to you, Kim.
Now, of course, it is time for the lightning round, and I think our camera people are ready for it. So, Scott, are you?
Hopefully.
Okay. Your very first one comes to us from Munden, Kansas, and she's wondering, do you know of any peony varieties that would be good for that warmer climate zone now that they're warmer?
I would stick with your herbaceous peonies. That's going to probably be the most forgiving for that climate.
All right. We have an Underwood, Iowa viewer who wonders if he can cut down his ragged daylilies right now, and for how far, and will it hurt them next year?
Cutting them back halfway will help keep them a little bit tidy. That will also help reduce pushing new growth. But if you could just wait till maybe after Labor Day before that cutting, that would be better.
All right. This viewer had an aspen that got cut, the root ball, 45-degree angle. He staked it straight. The stake's been on 4 years. Can he take the stake off?
Might be time to try something different.
All right. Omaha viewer, is it okay to still eat rhubarb? It's coming back for the second time.
I don't know the answer for that one.
All right. Pawnee City, lemongrass. Can it be cut back and brought in for the winter?
Yes, it can.
Nice job. All right. Dennis, you ready?
Oh, he's,
You want it.
The frog's butt, semi-permeable.
I don't know the answer to that one.
Yes.
All right, your first one comes to us from Omaha. She's found baby raccoons on her patio, and she also has a cat, which I know is not your favorite, but she wants to know how to keep the raccoons from bothering the cat.
Oh, I know how to do the opposite. There shouldn't be a problem. Raccoons can fend for themselves.
All right. We have a viewer who wants to know how to keep voles out of the garden, and she's wondering, will snakes keep them out of the garden?
Yes, the snakes will feed on them. However, you can't transport snakes legally, so you have to hope they come to your yard.
She's wondering, actually, if you have any for rent.
No.
Okay. We have a York viewer who says something is picking the apples off their tree, and then a few have bites out of them.
Probably squirrels.
All right. What would be a 7-inch tall owl? What kind of owl might that be?
Great horn.
All right. We have rabbits eating flowers. How do you stop them from doing that?
Fence it is the only way.
All right. We have a Wahoo viewer has 15 plus garter snakes. She's used snake away and mothballs. Yes or no?
Those won't work, and some people have all the luck. Enjoy them.
All right. Good grief. That was 7.
Is that a record?
No, maybe.
I've
Okay.
ate.
Terry, are you ready?
No, not anymore.
All right. Your first one comes to us from Columbus. They just had their lawn aerated, and they're wondering, do they have to go ahead and rake those cores out, the aeration
Oh,
cores?
nope, just leave them. They'll break down.
All right. We have a viewer who had a load of black dirt delivered, and nothing will grow in it. They want to know what they can do to it to make it more fertile.
I would probably go and get some compost and add that to it and see if that'll help.
All right. This is a Hershey viewer who also has aerated. She says they have some dry spots still in their lawn and wonder if adding sand will help with the dry spots.
No. If you do have some dry spots, again, add some compost to it. That would probably help. Just kind of lightly put it over the dry spots. That should help a little bit.
All right. This is a Lions viewer who wonders why 1 inch of rain greens up the lawn more than 1 inch from underground sprinklers.
Because there's lots of things in the rain that doesn't come out of the ground. So lots of good things from the rain.
All right. Carney viewer, prairie grass is seeded into the fescue. Will they take over if he wants them to?
Sure.
Okay. Nice job there also. Okay, Jody, the bar's been set. You ready?
Luck. Yeah.
All right. We have your first one is we have a viewer on an acreage. He wants to reduce the tick population. He's using IGR March 1st, 7 April 1st, and then after that through the season along his paths. Is this a good idea or what?
I don't think that's a good idea. None of the chemical treatments are going to replace a good tick check. And that's a lot of acres.
All right. We have a Verdon viewer who wonders, is there any sort of a good combination of neem oil plus soaps or surfactants for all stages of Japanese beetle development?
So I don't think there's a grub version, but the neem oil can be used on the plants to deter feeding once the Japanese beetles
All right.
come out.
We have a Beatrice viewer who wonders, is there a fall application of anything to control Japanese beetles next year?
Well, no. Usually in the fall, it's going to be like a curative.
All right. We have a viewer who's wondering why we haven't seen any of those big Charlotte's Web black and yellow garden spiders this year.
They're not mature yet, so a lot of times we don't see them until they get very big, but they are out there.
All right, excellent. Good heavens. Dennis,
Thank you.
you win the prize tonight.
Can I get a snake?
Do you,
Those people
want
have the garter snakes. Send them.
Send them, all right.
Hardin Hall.
Okay, well, our garden is at its peak right now. We've had some rain come through on the past couple of days, and everything is just gorgeous. This week, Terry's going to focus on one of our All-America selections out in the Backyard Farmer Garden.
This week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, we want to first thank all of you that came out on Saturday for the last East Campus Discovery Days. We had a great turnout and we had great conversations and answered lots of people's questions. But I want to remind you that you can continue coming out here. Master gardeners are out here several days a week to help answer questions, and it is just a fantastic place to spend an hour or so strolling through the garden. We want to look at one of the new All-America selection plants that we have for 2024. We have a new marigold called Siam Gold. It is a winner for this year, and it is actually looking really good. This one has stayed pretty true, even with all of the rains that we've had this spring. It is a really mounded habit, so it's not really too tall and it's not flopping very much. And it is really striking in the garden. So try out Siam Gold Marigold as a new choice for your garden for next year. So stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden and check it out.
What do we have?
We have some really fun plants this week. This first one up here, the grass, this is side oats grama. It's a nice ornamental grass. It has a really attractive drooping feature. The flowers are just really outstanding. And then up here we have is a verbena. This is Vanity. It's a shorter cultivar, newer, I believe, our All-American selection winner. It grows about 18, 24 inches tall. And then last, we have some basil. Basil is an underused plant that we can use in the garden. The bees and butterflies absolutely love the flowers, and it's also edible.
And unfortunately, it does not like to be cut.
It does not like to be cut.
So it's a little bit droopy. Well, this is a great combination, Scott. Thanks for talking about those today. So we have wonderful announcements of things happening in the gardening world. Of course, we are still doing our BYF Garden Grow-A-Row produce donations, Tuesdays 4:30 to 7 in the Backyard Farmer Garden. Our second one is we have the Prairie Pines Nature Center Plant Walk, Saturday, August 17th from 9 to 12, North 112th Street. It'd be a beautiful morning for that. And then we will be at State Fair, Monday, August 26th, Q&A at 4:15. Taping at 5 p.m., Raising Nebraska building. We always love to have a wonderful audience there. So besides which, we like corn dogs and things like that. All right, so we go to questions next. Jody, you have two pictures on this first one. This is Lincoln, and he was on her Weigela, and she's wondering if the second picture is eggs, and what exactly kind of caterpillar this is and what this will turn into.
Okay, so the first question, these are not eggs, this is poop. We call it frass. This is very signature of the type of caterpillar, so it's a hornworm. And this turns into a snowberry clearwing moth, so it's a daytime flying moth when you see them. Some people know the other one, that's like the hummingbird clearwing. This one's the snowberry clearwing, and it mimics a bumblebee. So it's pretty cool. And their host plants are usually honeysuckle and snowberry and dogbane.
Well, and Weigela is related to honeysuckle.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. All right, you have one picture on this next one. This is fun. This comes to us from Alliance. His granddaughter wanted to know what this is and what it would turn into.
So this is another type of hornworm caterpillar without the horn, because it loses its horn after the fourth instar. But this is the Aechmon sphinx moth, and it has that characteristic eye spot on the butt, and it will turn into a really cool large brown moth that kind of mimics like dried up leaves.
Oh, fun.
So it's pretty neat.
All right, Jody, you have one picture on this one. This comes to us from Blue Hill. She was repotting a Sansevieria, and this creeper was hiding in the soil. He's seen plenty, but he said this guy's just sitting there, and it looks like his back legs are just dragging. What is this?
Okay.
And you have a sample of
Yes.
this.
So this is a European earwig, and we are not short of earwigs this year, kind of like the aphids. And so I've got probably in this container, probably about 50 earwigs. They're hiding in the corrugated cardboard that I put in there. So they can be I guess, annoying out in the garden. They can feed on petals. They're also omnivorous, so sometimes they'll eat other insects and other times they'll eat your fruit and vegetables. If they do get inside, they can become pests indoors if there's high humidity and moisture. So they don't turn into anything. That's what they turn out to be. Those appendages at their end, we call them cerci. In the male, they're very strongly curved, and with the female, they're straight. I don't know if you can see there's more in there. Are they hiding?
They are truly creepy crawlies. Yeah.
Do you see them all?
Oh yeah, we see it.
Yeah. And they do have wings and they do fly. They have membranous wings tucked, really folded nicely underneath really short, leathery wing covers.
All right.
Yep, they're
One
creepy.
picture, yeah, they're creepy. One picture on the next one. This is an Omaha viewer eating the flowers of her datura.
This looks like a geranium budworm. They're also called tobacco budworms, but they'll eat pretty much a lot of different things. I found them in tomatoes this year as well.
All right. Terry, 2 pictures on the first one. This is a Brownville viewer. He's wondering what this weed is that's growing on his hillside along with flowers, grasses, and trees.
Yeah, so this is the showy tick trefoil. It's kind of cool. It is native, not necessarily to Nebraska, but kind of Kansas and south. It is a good plant if you want to have it like in a nature area. It doesn't really act very well like in a true landscape. If you want kind of a design landscape, it kind of flops a little bit and stuff. It's in the bean family, so it actually does fix nitrogen. So kind of decide whether you want to keep it or not. The one characteristic is the seed actually kind of has these little hairs and they stick to you and they look like ticks. So they would be Jody's kind of favorite plant, I guess, if it looks like a tick. So.
Right. 2 pictures on the next one. This comes to us from Grand Island. And he's saying, what is this and how do we control it and how do they keep it from spreading into their yard? I think the next one is a little closer up, but not much.
Yeah, so we think this is dog bane and it is related to milkweed. So when you kind of break it, you'll probably see that white milky sap like you see in milkweed, but unfortunately the pollinators or the monarchs really don't feed off this one like they do like the true milkweed plants that we normally think of. So again, Jody's creatures from the last group would probably be eating off of this. Really the best way you're gonna do is to kind of mow it down and try to get as much as you can out of there, rake it up as much as you can, because any little piece that falls down on the ground can root. Yeah, you have a big stand and it's gonna take a lot to get rid of it. So and it most likely will be many spray chemical control.
All right. 1 picture on this one, Terry. This is Shelby, Iowa. This plant is 6 feet tall. Edge of a cornfield. What is it?
Oh, this is a wonderful plant. So this is cup plant. So this is another native. One of the fun ones, if you visit the Backyard Farmer Garden, you would see this. One of the really cool things about this is that if you are ever out and you're thirsty, then the way the leaves fit together around the stem, they form a cup. So when it rains, you'll always be able to find water in there.
All right, and 1 more picture for you. This one comes to us from Omaha. They lost, a big tree, and now the completely shaded yard gets hot sun. The grass is struggling.
Yeah, so plants get used to their environment, and this turf probably just has been used to being shady. So you'll probably need to do a little bit of kind of overseeding and those aeration and stuff this fall, especially now it's the perfect time to actually start doing that. And then putting some new seed and stuff in there, you should be able to be okay by next year.
All right, Dennis, 2 pictures on this. This is Fremont, and just off the sidewalk, what varmint did this?
Actually, it's not a varmint, it's an insect. This is cicada wasp. You can tell by the granular material and the way the scoop is. So it's a female, probably cicada wasp.
All right, excellent. 1 picture on this one. This comes to us from Omaha. What's digging these spots along the sidewalk? They're not tunnels, they're holes.
It's voles.
Voles, so this is voles.
Yeah,
all right,
most likely
so the
voles.
multi-catch trap.
Yeah, catch-all trap, box trap.
All right. 2 pictures on the next one. What's digging this hole and how to stop it against the foundation. She filled it in and then it got opened bigger and better. She's thinking maybe a ground squirrel.
It could, no, ground squirrel is like a clean hole, so it's probably a vole or it could be a mouse. I don't think it's big enough to be a rat, but it's going to be either a house mouse or a vole.
Yeah, we hope it's not big enough to be a rat.
It could be a small rat.
Okay, thank you. 2 pictures for you, Scott, for the next one. This is hibiscus, and it was doing well, and then the leaves started turning yellow and drooping. He waters it every day in the heat. He fertilizes it weekly. He did repot it. Gets quite a lot of full sun. What do you think?
Hibiscus do like water, but everyday watering can be a tad bit much. When we do typically see that bright yellow leaves, that's a good indication of too much water. Make sure that the container has good drainage. Stick your finger in the soil before you water.
All right, you have 1 picture on the next one. He's wondering how much potting soil matters. This is new potting soil, but it was a no-name brand from a...
Potting soil, it can vary from brand to brand. You just want to make sure that it's nice, loose. If you're ever in doubt, maybe just add a little bit of perlite to the potting mix to help improve the drainage.
All right, and 3 pictures on the next one. This is cosmos in bedding plants. They've slowly started flagging, dying, starts at the bottom, works to the top. You got it because Jody's box was full, but we had the same thing in our backyard farmer garden.
This does look like spider mite damage. They do like to start at the bottom and work their way up. They like hot, dry conditions, which we've had plenty of, so it does look like mites.
All right. Well, this season, we've had multiple questions come in about what is going on with tomatoes. Everything from no blossoms to no fruit to cracking, cat facing, and we've heard it all this year. Here's Scott to give you a clue as to why a lot of tomatoes have had problems.
The weather across the state has been dynamic this year. We've had everything from tornadoes to flooding, and that has done a number on our vegetable gardens. And today I want to touch on a couple different issues that we're seeing on our tomatoes. The first issue is fruit cracking. This happens when we get a rain event and the fruit starts to swell and the skin cracks. The nice thing about fruit cracking is that the fruit is still edible, but we don't recommend that you use it for canning. The second issue that we are seeing across the state is that the plants didn't produce fruit. And this is because of the high temperatures that we had back in July. When we brush up against 100 degrees, the pollen becomes sterile in the plant and we don't get fruit set. And the last problem that we are seeing across the state are the different type of pathogens. We're seeing everything from bacterial speck to different types of early blights. It's too late to do any type of treatment for these plants, but we need to continue to provide good plant health care to reduce the damage. As we start to wrap up summer, one of the things that we can do is write down the tomatoes that we've used, the good and the bad, and then this is going to give us a list to choose from for next year when we're out in the garden center planting for 2025. If you have problems this year with your vegetable gardens, make sure that you check out our YouTube page. We have a lot of different short reels and segments on how you can be successful and help troubleshoot some of those problems that you may have had.
We have had our share of blistering hot days, and sometimes that does take its toll on those tomatoes. Scott had that great suggestion of keeping notes, trying again next year. One brief correction, we had side oats, Grandma, it is sea oats. Those are very, very different plants. All right, 1 picture for you, Jody, on the first one. This bee, she says, is enjoying the Weigelia, not sure which one, Eastern Carpenter bee, according to Google.
Yes, that
Okay.
is a carpenter bee.
All right. 1 picture for the next one. After the wind event, in quotes, they found this guy. They'd like to know what he's going to grow up to be.
This is an American dagger moth. It's going to grow up to be a moth. That's not that fun.
Not yellow, in
Yeah,
other
you
words.
just don't want to get those little, they call them pencils, those spines that can come out and be embedded in your skin.
Oh my goodness, just like slivers. All right, you have one picture on this one, your next one. This is a Lincoln viewer, huge dragonfly in the backyard. She wants to know more about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. This is a green darner butterfly. This is the green darner dragonfly, and it's a migratory dragonfly, so you will see a lot of them in August and September as they start heading south.
So how far south do they go,
They
and how
go
north do
to-
they come?
They go to Mexico and the Caribbean, and this is the second generation. They've got, I think, 3 every year.
Oh my, that's a lot of fun. Good to look for. All right, Terry, 2 pictures on this first one. This is a Lincoln viewer. 2 years ago, a city cut down a big sunburst honey locust too close to the wires. Suckers have come up in the yard. She thinks maybe they can be mowed off, but now after this spring, they're all over in a planting bed by her rock retaining wall where there are hostas, etc. How can she kill them permanently without damaging everything?
Yeah, the best way you're going to be able to do this is kind of hand management by going out and clipping them and then taking like a glyphosate and just painting that, and then it'll go back down. Either it's the roots coming back up or there were seeds in that landscape bed and they're germinating. So I don't know which one it is, but it could be either or. But that's going to be the best way.
All right. One picture on this next one. This is a Lincoln viewer. She just discovered this strange yellowing this morning, and she could have sworn it wasn't there yesterday.
So yeah, Scott talked about this last week too, and a lot of people are seeing this in their turf. So when the soil gets warm, the iron kind of gets tied up in there and the grass can't grow so well. So just leave it if you don't want to, otherwise you can add some chelated iron to it.
All right, Dennis, one ID on this one. This is Nickerson. What is this guy, 18 to 24
Yeah,
inches
there's a little
long?
vegetation over the head, which I need to see, but it's probably either a fox snake or a water snake, probably just hatched or born.
All right, she did say she heard a slight rattle.
They all rattle. Everything rattles.
Okay. We have one picture on the next one. What kind of little
This is
frog
Cope's gray tree frog in the green stages. It's a juvenile.
Well, that's not fair. They should call it the green frog. Okay,
It
one
changes.
more. What is this lizard? And unfortunately, it got
That's a
caught.
northern prairie skink, one of our 4 skinks. They stay under stuff.
Okay. And they're good
And-
guys?
Yeah,
they're
they're
bad guys?
It's a reptile. Of course, it's a good guy. They eat insects. They don't hurt anything. Yep. And it looks like this one got
He got
beat
hit
up
by the
pretty
mower.
bad. They
Yeah.
do skinks. If you try to grab them, make sure you grab them by the head, because they'll just let their tail come right off.
All right, thanks. Scott, this is a North Platte viewer. His plant ID app said mulberry tree. What is it?
I love obscure plants. It might be a type of a mulberry. There is a Korean or a chickenfoot mulberry tree. It should not be growing here. Take a sample into Elizabeth so we can try to figure it out.
All right, excellent. 2 picks on this one. What's happening with this sedum? This is Hupper, Nebraska.
A lot of times this is what sedum does. It doesn't like a lot of water, so check that irrigation, make sure that you're not overwatering. But sometimes the plant just needs to be rejuvenated, so maybe just split it in half and just help fill it back in.
All right, and 2 picks on the next one in about 30 seconds. This autumn blaze maple had a split. He wants to thread rods through it and keep it. What are we going to tell him to do?
We're going to say no, and this is a great opportunity to try something new, but bolting, cabling, that's only for super high value trees. Red maple is not one of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, we saw so much damage to all sorts of trees, but
Yes,
autumn blaze
yes.
was high on the list of bad.
Yep, take it out and try something new. Yeah.
Perfect. All right.